Greetings. My name is Daniele Hall. I am an author of 2 books and a personal growth and entrepreneurial certified life coach. Today I want to offer a bit of encouragement to everyone about loving and how to love yourself and others from the inside out. Sometimes that seems difficult because we are sometimes so surface that everything that we do is outer. How our appearance, how do we look, our appearance, how do we sound, what other people think. But the true nature of being empowered and empowering yourself is to be able to love yourself and others from the inside out. And your heart condition will determine how you love and how you treat people from the inside out. In my second book, I discuss in the chapter called The Heart Condition, the different types of heart conditions we can have as individuals. And with everything that's going on right now with the virus and the pandemic, we all have had a chance to sit back and learn some things about ourselves and find out what it is that we need to do to make the changes in our lives that we need to make. So studying your heart from the inside out gives you an opportunity to figure out what it is that you want to do. And with this new normal, should we call it, because nothing is the same. Nothing today is how it was 3 or 4 months ago. So everything is different. Everything is new. And we're finally getting an opportunity to reach into ourselves. And I'm sure people are busy, but you do have some extra time now to really figure out how you feel and why you feel that way. And the way to do that is to come from the inside to the outside, meaning you dig inside of your heart and figure out, what kind of heart do I have? And there's different types of heart conditions that we have as humans. We have our big-hearted people who know how to be kind and compassionate and treat people good, and they know how to give as well as receive, and their heart is just in a pure good place. So when encountered with those type of people, we can feel their power and their energy because they have big hearts and they're good individual people. And sometimes you may run across a hard-hearted person that has been hurt in the past, and as a result of them being hurt in the past, they have turned their hearts to a hardened place where they don't want to feel and they don't want to do anything nice because they think somebody is going to take advantage of them. And in the world that we're living in today, that is very susceptible to happen. But as powerful individuals, we have to encourage ourselves as well as others to always have a big heart, not a hard heart. And then we also have cold-hearted people, which we see these type of people on the news and in social media all the time, that just don't really care about the care or the wealth or the health of other people. And they do things that are not good to other people because their heart somewhere along the line has turned cold and they haven't done the inner work to make their heart transform into a big heart. So I would just like to encourage anyone that is having an issue with their heart, an issue with loving themselves, an issue with loving themselves from the inside out, to take the things, the new normal that we have going on now and the way that the world is going, and encourage yourself, encourage others. Some steps to learn how to do the inner work is to oftentimes always make time for yourself. Take time out to do things that you like to do. And even if you don't know what those things are, that's when you dig a little deeper inside and internally to figure out, what is it that I really like to do? What are my hobbies? Is it a new business I want to start? Is it a new career that I want to embark upon? Because there's so many things in our lives that we don't accomplish because we never did the inner work to go inside and find out what it is that we want for ourselves, because we spend time being mothers and wives and sisters and daughters and co-workers and taking care of everybody else. And a lot of times we never really take the time to take care of ourselves. And with the way that the world is transforming right now, this is an excellent, wonderful time to tap into your power, as well as tapping into any pain that may be keeping you from tapping into your power, by going inside into your heart, into your mind, figuring out what it is in this world that will make you a better person. Be it changing some of your habits or some of the things that you think you can't stop doing. When you do the inner work and you go inside and you reach in to your inner energy, you'll find that you can do anything that you put your heart to and that you put your mind to. And that most of our interactions, we will get the result of how that interaction turns out because of the way that we handle the situation, our mindset. And our mindset comes from the inner. So when we do that inner work, the inside out work, the work that we need to do to ensure that we are good people, that we are powerful people, that we are making a difference in the world, because that is what the world needs right now. We need powerful individuals that can make a difference, know what to do, and that have done the work that they need to do to heal themselves from the inside out. Never does anyone not have a space to heal. There's always room for us to heal. There's always room for us to go deeper inside of ourselves to find out what our purpose is. What is our calling? Some of us are well into our 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and never really realize what their calling is, what their purpose is to the world. So today I want to encourage you to do the inner work, go inside, find out what your heart desires. It could be anything. It could be, you would be surprised at, once you dig deep inside of your heart, what it will say to you. And what are some of the things that you have been longing to do, or some of the people you have been longing to see, or places to go that you never did because you never took the time out to dig deep and go inside and do the inner work that we need to do to heal, be powerful, better, powerful people, and to change the world. Because at the end of the day, we all need to do our job and our part in making the world a better place, and encouraging one another, and doing things that we can do to make ourselves better, that we can love ourselves better. So again, do the inner work, dig inside of your heart, find out what your heart condition may be, whether it's, I have a big heart, I have a hard heart, I have a broken heart, I have a cold heart. Those are all examples of different ways that your heart can be affected. And what goes on the inside is what will always show up on the outside. So where you may think that your appearance is so wonderful that nobody can tell that you're broken, or nobody can tell that your heart has turned cold over the years, or nobody can tell that you even have a big heart, because everybody's taking advantage of it. This is a time for you to dig in, do the inner work, get in tune with yourself, take some of this free time that the universe has granted us with, to find out exactly what it is and what your purpose is in life. I encourage you all to, once you do this inner work, just notice the difference and how your life is going to change once you figure out you and what you want to do and what your purpose is and what your life was meant to do. I encourage everyone to search for the big heart. If you don't have it, search for it. Have the big heart. Be the big hearted person. Be the better person. Be the person that makes a change in the world. I appreciate this time. Again, my name is Danielle Hall. My website is www.daniellejhall.com. And again, have a peaceful, wonderful, blessed day.
Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Wilson Starks, President and CEO of Trans Leadership Incorporated, and also the host of the Voice of Leadership podcast. And I'm here today to offer you some words of encouragement during this time of the pandemic. And if you are a business leader, you may have been facing some particular challenges right now. I know that as a business owner myself, I've also faced some challenges during this pandemic season. I came into town on the 10th of March, and 2 days later, everything that I had booked that was travel related canceled through June. And most of my business is travel related. I actually work with corporate executives, and I'm traveling coast to coast in the United States and also globally. Fortunately, there are some jobs and some activities that we were involved in that we were able to do virtually and also continue to just work in other ways. So I want to just encourage you that all is not lost. And in fact, you are able to pivot and to do some things in a different way. So let me share with you maybe 5 ways to be successful at this time. Number one, you want to keep your focus on that which is positive. And that's going to mean being very, very intentional about what you pay attention to and what you listen to. So you may want to listen to and read some inspirational books. You might want to read some biographies about people who have overcome through very difficult and very challenging times. And in general, just hear stories of triumph and good news. There's some good news going on where people are really making a difference in the lives of others. You want to pay attention to all of that good news. Now, while you're bringing in a lot of good news at this time, number two, you want to keep your mind open and positive also by avoiding certain things. So let me mention what those are. You want to avoid watching television 24/7 and listening to bad news over and over again. When you listen to bad news over and over again, it puts you in a fear state. And from a fear state, you're in a more constricted place, and it's very difficult to think about new things to do. And in fact, you become very almost like myopic in terms of your view, not able to see in a very expansive way. So you want to obviously know what's going on. So watch just enough news to know what's happening and then cut that off and go on to something else. Similarly, you really want to avoid people who are very negative at this time. If you're talking to some people who tend to look at the glasses as half empty, that's going to be a message that's difficult for you to have the creativity that you need at this time. So you want to limit the time that you're going to be spending with very negative people. The other thing that I would say is that you want to focus on today. What can you do today? We can only live in the present. The past is already past. There's nothing we can do about that. And so if you try to live in the past, that's usually a place of regret. If you live in the future, you're looking at something you have no control over, and that causes worry, and that causes more fear and more anxiety. When you live in today, that's the place that you can truly influence. And if you do what you need to do today, that will take care of tomorrow. You'll be prepared for tomorrow. And then number three, though it might be tempting to really stay isolated from people, this is the time to connect, whether it's by phone or whether it's on a virtual platform such as Zoom or a webinar or GoToMeeting or something like that. Stay in touch with your team members, even if your business is closed down. Stay in touch with your customers. Maybe you've got platforms like Facebook or another way that you usually keep in touch. Definitely stay in touch. Let them know how you're doing, what's coming down the pike, and when you expect to reopen or to add new services and so on. So even if you're closed, make sure that you also stay in touch. Number four, I would say respond to the current needs that are out there right now. And that means being really laser focused and thinking about what do your clients need at this time. So I know, for example, there have been some businesses that did maybe birthday parties for little children. And what they've discovered, obviously, in the pandemic and the lockdowns, little children aren't meeting. So the really creative ones have figured out ways to do the virtual birthday parties on a platform such as Zoom, and they're having great results. Or perhaps you might be a fitness center and maybe the fitness center is closed. But what you can do at this time is one organization actually sent fitness equipment to the homes of all of their clients, and they met with them online and did the fitness classes online. So everyone was at home, had their own equipment, and they still were able to participate in the class. And I know in our case, we know that our executive clients, our CEOs and presidents, they're making very difficult decisions right now. So we actually increased the amount of time that we spend with each client. And this gives them an opportunity to have more access to our trusted advice and counsel and helping them to make the decisions as they're going forward. So in addition to figuring out what does your client need most right now, and then creating a way to make that happen, such as the birthday parties, the fitness, or whatever is going on, you also want to create some new services for what's relevant for these times. So for example, in our case, we know that most of our clients who actually are still working are working in a very virtual context. And working in a virtual context really does require different skills and some additional abilities than what you normally do. So we actually created a masterclass on how do you work virtually and the art of leading virtual teams. And you can do the same kinds of things for your business as well. So as I've been saying so far, the 5 items that are important to pay attention to: keep a positive focus, feed your mind with the positive. Number 2, avoid the negative influences because they actually constrict your creativity. 3, stay connected with other people. Another benefit of being connected is new ideas will come to you as you're talking to others and as you're collaborating with others. 4, respond to the current needs of your marketplace right now. And number 5, create the services that are most relevant at this time. And then the most important thing I'm going to share with you today is this: you want to stay spiritually strong. And here's what I want you to keep in mind: there is a God, and God helps those who are committed to Him and who put Him first. And I know that these are really challenging times. And if you put God first, it doesn't mean that you won't have challenges or that you won't have to go through difficulty. But what it does mean is that he will be with you all the way. So when I think of the psalmist in Psalm 23, he says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So no matter what you're walking through, God will walk through that with you and comfort you in the process. And you will have divine strength and divine peace no matter what the challenge is that you're going through. Now, I want to just remind you in 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, we see the prophet Elijah, and a drought is coming on the land. And God has told him to go to the widow of Zarephath because God has ordained that that widow is going to take care of his needs at this time. When Elijah gets there, he sees that she's gathering sticks. And he says to her, he asks her for a cup of water and he asks her for some bread. She says, I don't have any bread. All I have is a little bit of flour and a little bit of oil, and I'm going to make a cake of bread out of that so that my son and I can eat it, and then we're going to die. And the prophet said to her, no, I tell you what, you go ahead and prepare the bread. Give me the cake of bread first, and then make some for you and your son. Now, I want you to imagine this. The amount of flour she has isn't even enough to make bread for her and her son. And the prophet says, make it for me first, and then take the rest and make it for you and your son. And what she didn't know is how God was going to operate supernaturally in the circumstance. However, she decided to put God first, and that meant the prophet was representing God. She made that cake of bread, she gave it to him first, and then she had enough flour, enough oil left over. She could continually make food for her and her son until the whole season of drought ended. And that was quite a miracle. Now, later in her life, her son got sick and her son actually died. She had to go through hardship. God was with her, the prophet was with her, and in her particular case, her son was even raised from the dead. So what I want to say is that you might have challenges, you might have difficulties. However, no problem is too big for the God who is the God of the universe. And when God is with you and when God is for you, you have all that you need. And there is no problem that is too big for the God who is big enough to rule and reign over the whole universe. So, for those of you who know God, this is the time to remember what his promises are and to walk in such a way that you prioritize him first. And for those of you who don't know who God is, this is a great time to get to know the God of the universe who has promised never to leave us and never to forsake us. These are times that require supernatural intervention. And so I offer that to you right now, the supernatural God of the universe who can handle anything. So be blessed and have a great day.
What you believe will mean the difference between success and failure. When I say that you were born for greater, you have to believe it with every fiber of your being. You have to believe and know it not just in your head, but in your heart, in your soul, and in your gut. Because if you don't, the odds of you ever being anything more than mediocre are slim to none. Anyone who is successful will tell you that they didn't just fall into being successful. No, they believed their way into being successful. Believing that I was born for greater saved my life. My mom was smart, but she didn't finish high school because at 16, she ran away from home in search of a better and safer life. Life proved to be not much better and certainly not much safer. She would later get pregnant from a man who would discard his responsibilities of being my father like he was taking out the morning trash. Life was hard and my mother had every reason to quit and give up, but she didn't. One of my earliest memories is of her grabbing a small blue suitcase and stuffing me into a white winter coat. She kneeled down to get on my level, and as she tightened the drawstrings on my hoodie, she looked me in my eyes and she said, "Ladybug, you were born for greater than this." Then we fled in the middle of the night. I'm born for greater. I'm born for greater. Those words echoed so deep within me that they became part of my DNA, part of how I'm wired. You see, my mom would eventually meet a man who thought the world and the whole universe revolved around her, and he loved both of us deeply and completely. But life was still hard. I learned that in life, it's not about where you start that matters, and it's not even so much about where you finish. It's about how you finish. My start wasn't so promising. I grew up on the south side of Albany, Georgia, in a little white house on Cochran Avenue. I thought my parents went to the grocery store every day because they loved shopping. I eventually realized that it was because they only had enough food to feed us for that day. My parents would pile my brothers and I into my dad's little pickup truck, and we would scour the neighborhood on Thursdays and Fridays, looking for other people's trash discarded alongside of the road so that we could clean it up and sell it at the flea market on Saturdays. And they taught me to do it with excellence and with my head held high. Why? Because they knew something that unfortunately many of you in this room will never get. That just because you find yourself in a certain place, that doesn't mean that you belong in that place. When you believe that you were born for greater, you are influenced more by the people where you're going than by the people where you're from. What you do today matters. Your words matter. Your actions matter. You matter. And there's someone somewhere in the world right now who is waiting on you to figure that out and to believe it. Life is both a teacher and a tester. Life will teach you the lessons that you must learn and test your resolve for what you say you believe. My birth father abandoned me. My babysitter abused me. My teacher belittled me. My coworker backstabbed me. My client lied on me, and my best friend turned on me. Life's not fair, and people will hurt you. But what you can't let them take from you is your will to fight, your will to win, your will to survive. Because they don't get to choose who you will become. Only you get to choose how your life will matter. What if the negative things happening are not so much about what people are doing to you, but more about what God is trying to do for you and eventually through you? Mr. Wilder was my 9th grade English teacher, and I'll never forget standing at his desk in between classes and hearing him tell me that I would never amount to anything, that I'd probably spend the rest of my life on welfare or drugs. All Mr. Wilder could see was the pregnant teen standing before him. But because I knew I was born for greater, I could see the honor graduate who would achieve a near perfect SAT score and go on to receive a full scholarship to attend college. I could see the woman who one day would grace the cover of her alma mater's magazine. I could see the woman who would one day be ranked number 8 among the top 30 brand gurus in the world. And I could see the woman who one day would earn an honorary doctorate in divinity. Years later, I drove 843 miles to go back to Westover High School to say hi to Mr. Wilder. I wanted to look him in the eyes and tell him, "You didn't get to choose." Being a teen mother is where I was in that moment, but being stuck in the cycle that often comes with it wasn't where I belonged. You see, I couldn't escape those words as they rang in my ears, and I knew in my heart that they were true. I was born for greater. I was born for greater. Don't let another person's opinion of you define what you can or cannot do, or shape who you will or will not become. Only you get to choose. You get to choose how you will respond when you're faced with the impossible, have to carry the unbearable, and when life tries to take the last ounce of hope that you have. And when you choose to focus on what you've gained and not what you've lost, and what you've learned and not how you failed, you will find that for every Mr. Wilder, there's also a Mrs. Tunstall, my English teacher who 3 years later would push me to become a better writer, and without whom I would have never had the courage to become an author and write over a dozen books. When you decide that where you are is not where you want to stay, and you decide that you are ready to do or be something greater, you have to prepare yourself for battle, because your old self will always be at war with your new self. Every time you decide to move forward, opposition will show up. Every time you decide to stop playing small, opposition shows up. And every time you decide to step up to a new level of success, opposition shows up. Don't take it personal. Struggle is just a part of the cycle of success. But your commitment to win must be greater than the opposition you face. I know at times you're thinking, I'm getting a whole lot more of the struggle than I'm getting of success. Believe me, I get it, because I've been there. 3 days after my husband quit his job to become partners with me in launching Audacious Faith, the biggest movement and most important work that I had ever led, doctors found 3 tumors and told me at one point that cancer had metastasized throughout my whole body. A week later, I had to airlift my dad from a small regional hospital in Albany, Georgia, to Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis to save his life. Fortunately for me, the diagnosis was false and my tumors were all benign. But I want you to hear what was going through my head. I said, "Death, you have no sting, because if it turns out that I'm healed, I win. And should my time on this earth come to an end, I still win, because my confidence in my destination when this life is over is secure." I'm a daddy's girl at heart, because I spent a lot of time with my dad in his work shed, where I learned valuable life lessons that have really fueled my success. My dad taught me that how you do anything is how you do everything. You can't just show up and work like everyone else. You can't be average and expect to get to the top. You have to give it all you've got. You have to give it everything you've got, and then some. Everyone wants to live like a winner, but few people are willing to work like a winner. When is the last time you visited your local library and bench pressed some books to help you get smarter? Are you part of a mastermind to help sharpen your skills and stretch you to be better? When was the last time you did something that scared you because you were tired of playing small and playing it safe? You can't hide in the shadows any longer, hoping someone else will step up and take charge and help change your life. You get to choose how your life will matter. And at some point in life, you have to realize that your success isn't just about you or even for you. My grandchildren benefit from my success. My success is their success, and they're going to gain far more from my success than I ever will. Before I go to bed every night, I ask myself, "Lethia, did you do your best today?" And the answer is often yes. Then I say, "Lethia, can you do better tomorrow?" And the answer is always yes. You are here listening to me today because on some level, I really believe that you want to be better. You were born for greater. Never settle for less, and always remember that you get to choose how your life will matter.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to connect in with you today, and I'm quite honored to be part of this project where we are coming together to support and encourage all of you. And as I sat with this opportunity to take a few minutes and connect in with you and see what I could add to that conversation to support all of you, the biggest thing that came to my heart is reminding everybody to stop. Take a breath. We get so busy being busy, crossing things off the to-do list. We sometimes forget to stop and catch up with ourselves a little bit and actually listen to what is being laid on our heart and on our spirit, and seeing where we are called to go, what is important to us to bring forward, especially during times like this. This has been a practice that has transformed my life. So just to share a little bit of who I am, I'm Rebecca Hall Gruyter. I am a global influencer. We have reach in radio, television, podcast, multiple networks that we are honored to share our messages out on, live events, and multiple books. We have a publishing arm, a magazine. We do a lot in the world. Our companies are Your Purpose Driven Practice and the RHG Media Productions. Those are our two main arms. And the overall mission that we are called to bring forward is to help make the world a better place. And the way we're called to do that is to encourage those who are called to share the gift of who they are. And heart by heart, life by life, we are able to make a difference. But it all comes back to that pausing. My grandmother taught me this. I had an amazing connection with one of my grandmothers, Grandma, that lived up in Washington. I'm just keeping her last name private, but my grandma. And we were so connected that you just knew it was time to call. You could feel that. I don't know if you have a connection like that with somebody. We did. And there was a distance, and she wasn't very mobile. She had was losing her sight, had lost some of her mobility, and yet was so alive and so amazing, and how she could fully connect in with you and hold space. And we were able to do that over the phone so deeply, so powerfully, despite being states away. And I would call my grandma, call her, Grandma, this amazing thing happened today. And I'd call her in those highs in life to celebrate something with her, be so excited about a way that my life had been touched or something I'd gotten to be a part of. And she'd say, honey, that's great. I'm so proud of you. Take a moment to stop, pause, take that in. Celebrate and breathe it in on a cellular level. Even though it's a good thing, it still can take energy and cause some stress with change. So give yourself that time. My response then was, yeah. I wasn't very good at stopping and pausing and listening. I was much better at being in motion. And then I would have those moments where things would just stop me in my tracks. Life suddenly was not what it had been. And I was just trying to breathe and so devastated. And I would call my grandma in those moments too and say, Grandma, this happened. I don't even know how to process it. I don't even know what to do with this. And she'd say, honey, I'm here for you. And she'd share that time and let me just express what was on my heart. And she goes, now remember, there's no shoulds here. I shouldn't feel this way, or I should push through, I should, whatever we're telling ourselves, the should. She says, remember to be kind to yourself. Remember to treat yourself like your own best friend. Stop, pause, breathe, and integrate. I was a little bit better at slowing down in those moments and remembering to listen and hear what was on my heart. And there was great wisdom in those challenging times, in things that I discovered about myself that mattered to me, that I wanted to bring forward. And I feel like we have that opportunity now. When we are in a challenging time, we can choose to stop and pause and be mindful, choose what we are purposely bringing forward that matters most to us. And I want to encourage you to do that. But it's that stopping and that pausing, that checking in and listening, and then being willing to be mindful about what we echo out, what we bring forward. Are we sharing out things that frighten us? Are we giving that more energy and making them bigger and echoing that out into the world? Are we choosing to find the good? Are we choosing to focus in on what matters most to us and bring that forward? We have an opportunity every day to lift up another, to help encourage them, to have them smile. We have those opportunities all around us. I have another grandmother that powerfully impacted my life as well. She used to make these flower pens. I don't know if you're familiar. I'm going to hold one up. try to see if it works with my green screen there. I'll put it in front of me, a flower pen. And she used to make these and would give them as gifts to tie into the season, to encourage people and brighten their day. And I remember one day when I was visiting her, I looked at this bouquet of pens and I realized that's us. Wow. Every flower has a different texture, a different color, a different fragrance, a different way of shining in the world, a different way of showing up. And we have that opportunity to fully show up and shine. So I actually started making those flower pens and handing those out at our live events. It would always be a mixture. And at some point during the day, I would have everybody stand up that had the flower pen and hold it high in the room and look around and look at the pen they were holding and notice how colorful it is. Notice the texture, the colors, what's going to be opening soon, and appreciating the beauty and the wonder and the scent and the fragrance of the flower. And then recognize the woman or man or person holding the pen is just as beautiful, just as wonderful, and as needed in the world. And then while everybody's standing, I would have them actually take the pen and have some people take it down. And what I'd have them observe is that notice we're all still occupying the same amount of space, but now the garden of life has become less vibrant. And that's what happens when we shrink, when we pull back and contract. The world misses out. They're missing out on the beauty and wonder of who you are, your amazing gifts and talents that are absolutely needed in the world. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, this is a message for you. It's a reminder that you are absolutely needed. You were, in fact, made for such a time as this. The greatest gift you can give the world is being willing to shine, be willing to share the gift of who you are with the world. Resist shrinking back and contracting. During challenging times, we are needed even more. It's even more important that we lean in purposely and powerfully, and we're willing to share the gift of who we are. That's how we become a bright light. That's how we encourage and lift each other up. So I want to encourage you as you get ready to go back out into the world, find a way to lift another up. Encourage someone, reach out, call, and share the unique, wonderful being of who you are in the world. Share that. Shine. It is an amazing gift. And I think sometimes we feel it's hard. It's hard to shine sometimes. It is. It's hard to fully show up all the time. It's hard to keep moving forward when things are challenging and come against you. But I want that to actually inspire you. Henry Ford has a quote where he talks about, I'm paraphrasing, but it's that the planes actually take off when they're against the wind, not with the wind. We have amazing opportunities in challenging times to lean in, to shine brightly, to encourage others. And I want to encourage you to, it matters even more during these challenging times. People need encouragement, and we can encourage each other. We can lift each other up. We can choose what we dwell on, what we're entertaining and spending energy on. That's an inside job. What are we choosing to look at? How are we looking at the world? Are we seeing negative and tearing down others? Or are we choosing to see the greatness in others and to celebrate that and to lift that up? And when it feels hard sometimes, here's something my dad used to say, and I didn't always appreciate it, but I think there's great wisdom in it. And I hear his voice in my head now sometimes when I say that to myself. It just feels hard. It's so hard to handle this or do this thing or take this step. And he would always say, hard is not a reason not to. In other words, things are hard sometimes, but that's not a reason to shrink back and to become less. That's actually time to lean in and become more. Let the challenges inspire us. Let them help us become a little bit kinder. Step out of our comfort zone a little bit more. Be willing to shine forward those things that matter. I can't wait to see your brilliance in the world. I can't wait to see the amazing imprint, just like that pebble in a pond that echoes out every time you choose to shine, every time you choose to lift another up, every time you choose to make a difference and encourage someone and give them that smile, remind them of their greatness too. Sometimes we need that mirror held up to us and a reminder of our gifts and our talents. So be that, be willing to be that for each other. Go out there, shine your brilliant gifts, and make that imprint that matters in the world by sharing the amazing gift of who you are. And together, as we do that, heart by heart, life by life, we make a global difference and we can light up this world in a powerful and positive way.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm Jim Fuhs of Fusion Marketing. And what I wanted to talk about today to hopefully help uplift you during these trying times is how you can use social media to keep hope alive. Now, I know it's not always easy, especially with everything we've been going on, but this is a time where we really need to help each other out, to be uplifting and things of that nature. And so, how are you using your social media, whether it's personally or professionally, to keep people encouraged and inspired? The way that I like to do that and that I really strive to be consistent with is using the 4 E's of social media. And I also like to I throw in a C there as well, which is what I'll talk about a little bit as well. So, first of all, what are the 4 E's of social media? Well, the first E is educate. Let's help educate each other when we post on social media about things that we can do to help others, to help each other, to help our friends. Some of that could be as simple as share things about businesses in your community that need help. Let people know that they're open. People may not even be aware of this, whether it's sharing a video, whether it's even, forwarding stuff to your friends by text message or email, educate people so that they know what's going on. And of course, it's extremely important that you fact check what you're sending out. Nothing worse than sending out something that's not true. And there's so many people struggling right now that education is definitely a critical part of that. How am I educating people? Well, first of all, I have to educate myself. We have to know that, okay, there's laws that maybe need to be changed, and how can we educate people to help make this a better place? The second E is be entertaining. Entertainment can be so uplifting. Now, I'm not on TikTok, and some of you maybe are, but maybe you just want to go out there and do something funny, do a funny dance or share some funny videos. I mean, this doesn't always have to be about you creating original content, but find those people that encourage you and share that to your network, share that with others. There are so many great people doing great things, and entertainment really helps people just loosen up, and we definitely need a laugh now and then in order to do things. I think one of my favorite entertainment ones is a few years ago when we had a Chewbacca mom where she put on the silly Chewbacca mask on her face, and she just, made people laugh, and it was just very, very encouraging for people. She ended up getting not only, hundreds of thousands, not millions of views. And I'm not saying that you're automatically going to be going viral by doing something like that, but you're definitely going to help uplift people, because sometimes that's all we need is a little bit of uplift to make our day and help us get through, because we are all going to get through with this. The next E I'd like to talk about is empower. How can you help empower those in your community and other places, make things happen? One of the things that I've seen a lot where I live is there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that are helping people with food, whether it's, distribution or whatever. So maybe what you could do is empower those in your community by letting them know that these things are going on, or letting them know that if you want to help, they're looking for volunteers, or maybe you want to go out there and volunteer yourself and share that so that others can become a part of that. Because a lot of times, if we can empower people, make them feel that they're, worth it, that in and of itself is going to help uplift them as well. So being empowering can be so important at this time. The fourth E, and I would say in some aspects, maybe even the most important, is engagement. Engage with your community, engage and reach out to those people. Engagement doesn't mean that you even necessarily need to post anything. But if you see that, you have a friend that's posted something, make a comment on their post, start that conversation, make it worthwhile, that they are able to, truly feel like you care, first of all, because you do care, or you wouldn't engage. But engagement is what helps them as well, maybe get exposure to what they're putting out there. And isn't that what social media is supposed to be all about, is being social? So think about, how can I engage, so even if you can't post, if you're engaging. And here's the other thing: stay positive. There's no reason for us to get into these, you know, battles with people. We have too much of that negativity on social media as it is. So I think that it's important for us to engage in a positive way, be uplifting, be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. And if you're finding that at times it can be difficult to engage, it's okay to step away. It's okay to take that break from social media in order to, you know, keep your sanity. The other thing I would say is, don't feel like you have to be on there 24/7. It's no different than TV and the news, right? Sometimes it's good for us to just take a break and be ourselves. Finally, as I had mentioned earlier, create a call to action when you're posting on social media. If you've created a educational or empowering or even a entertaining post, what would you like people to do with that? Maybe you'd like to share with their network, or maybe you would like them to tell you what has allowed, what is something positive that's happening to them. Share it in the comments, because then we can maybe have more of that engagement. A lot of times, what people don't consider when they look at these things is, you know, we create these posts, but we really don't tell people what we would like them to do. So I think that is extremely critical. That's where that call to action, sometimes called a CTA, can be so important. I think, though, kind of going back, if we really consider how we can use social media in a positive light by educating, entertaining, empowering, and engaging our audience, whether it be through, um, you know, any of our various platforms, and in a positive way, we can help people, because so many people are spending time on social, be a much better person and feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I hope that this was helpful to you, and I look forward to, you engaging with me as I'd like to engage with you that are watching this today. And God bless everyone. I'm Jim Fuhs, Fusion Marketing, and my website is Fusion, Fuhsion, marketing.com. Thank you.